It is trite to say that language can never reach reality per se, and yet we must remind ourselves of this to restitute Nagarjuna's philosophy from the charge of nihilism. In a sense, it is true that language does reflect the forms and characteristics of nature itself and even of human experience. Being man's construction, it must necessarily represent the closest facsimiles to the reality of things while remaining faithful to the socio-psychological context. But it must never become absolute, or that a one-to-one correspondence made with respect to language and reality. In such a way, Indian philosophy, including Buddhism, is replete with instances where terms are faithful to reality, but still, in the ultimate sense, remains defiant of absolute connection. It is paramount to keep in mind that language must meet the strictest requirements in the determination and communication of terms. But the formal aspect, the conceptual and logical, must never be pushed to a realm where technical mists cloud and all too often dictate the final interpretation. Sunya, or sunyata, the state of sunya, is one such term which does not lend itself to strict determination and communication because it is rooted in the basic ontological nature of man. It refers to man's perfected pure state of being, without the normal elements of defilements or attachments. Buddhism, from the very beginning, had spoken of the dual nature of defilements which constantly plague man, that is, the so-called physical tainting and the conceptual tainting. Both are only two aspects of the total status of defilement imposed by man himself, and such imposition, consciously or unconsciously, becomes the basis of his limiting, restrictive, divisive, or discriminative activities. It would therefore be wrong to straightforwardly assign defilement or attachment to either the merely physical or the merely mental. Buddhism sees man in totality with respect to the matrix of both aspects. Thus, it is incorrect to interpret the mental or conceptual aspect as wholly responsible for the interpretation of the nature of things, since the total activity, the conceptual, rooted in the physical basis, and the physical basis running throughout the conceptual process, must be accounted for at all times. If this be mysticism, then it is the supreme mysticism to which all of Buddhism subscribes. However, it is at this very point that Buddhism seeks final rationale in the nature of man's being. This is where Nagarjuna, with his unique use of certain concepts, such as sunya, tried to interpret the Buddhist truth. Consequently, sunya, or sunyata, refers to total being, without the defiled or attached conditions, and, as such, there is nothing removed from man's being and his activities, nothing nihilistic or voided in his ordinary existence.